President Obama takes a shot at Republican Congressman Pete Hoekstra to his face in public on the congressman's home turf. Now, yesterday in Holland, Michigan, at the groundbreaking of a project funded by the federal stimulus, President Obama took a nasty jab at Congressman Pete Hoekstra, who was seated in the front row. Congressman Hoekstra voted against the stimulus, and the president apparently remembers.
There's some folks who want to go back, who think that we should return to the policies that helped to lead to this recession. Some of them made the political calculation that it's better to obstruct than to lend a hand. They said no to tax cuts. They said no to small business loans. They said no to clean energy projects. Now, it doesn't stop them from being a ribbon cuttings, but that's okay.
Ouch. Well, what does Congressman Hoekstra say? Let's ask. He joins us. Congressman, what do you have to say about this? Because the president says you show up at ribbon cuttings, essentially, but that's okay.
Well, you know, Greta, this is my hometown. I'm invited to this ceremony by the company that is doing the groundbreaking. The community is excited. There's a groundbreaking. We're excited that the president is going to be there. You know, out of respect for the office of the president, out of respect to the company that invited me to go, I went to this ribbon cutting. I didn't want to take credit for it. The president clearly knows that I don't agree with his economic policies. If he wants to take a cheap partisan shot, it says more about the president than what it does about me. But, you know, what the people in Michigan and I think around the country are concerned about is we spent $1 trillion, almost $1 trillion on this economic stimulus package. It's not working. Unemployment is higher. Lots of families are hurting. And here the president is engaging in these kinds of political stunts. They want leadership. You know, that's what they're looking for. They're not getting it. We need to get America back to work. We got to reevaluate our economic policies.
Did it seem like it was part of prepared remarks, or did he ad lib and go off the script? I'm sort of curious, like, you know, as to why he would do that. I mean, Michigan in particular is a state which, by the way, congratulations, you moved out of first place in terms of unemployment for the first 4 years. It's now Nevada. But, you know, did he go off script and ad lib it, or was that planned?
No, my understanding, and you know how the White House works, they go through every word on a presidential speech and they go through it all, you know, they go through the whole speech with a fine-tooth comb. My understanding is that his press secretary actually told the media beforehand, hey, we've got a great quote in here about Congressman Hoekstra. You may want to take a look out for it and pay attention to it.
Well, he said that it was that it was a political calculation to obstruct rather than lend a hand. Perhaps it was a political move to be insulting to a congressman who shows up and not necessarily to, you know, help matters in Michigan. I don't know. Maybe he's got a little bit of that himself. Yeah,
it's a very strange political calculus. Like I said, it really changed the tone and the tenor of the debate and the discussion about his visit to West Michigan last week or yesterday. And like I said, people of Holland, people of Michigan want a discussion. Like you said, for 4 years we've been leading the country in unemployment up in the last month. You know, Mr. President, are you seriously going to consider changing your economic policies? People are concerned about the deficit. They're concerned about the lack of job creation. What are you going to do? How are you going to work with the Republicans to put together an agenda that will actually put America back to work?
All right, sir, you serve on the House Intelligence Committee, so I'm curious what you think about the latest news coming out of Europe, essentially, that that BP, British Petroleum, had at least at one point asked about some sort of prisoner transfer to the Lockerbie killer to Libya, and they had a big $900 million deal or something, or offshore leases with Libya. And then, of course, the killer was released, not as a prison transfer, but as something different, as part of a compassion release. Go figure on that one. But anyway, what's your thoughts, sir?
Well, I think, Greta, here's what happens. The judge in Scotland made a terrible decision. This guy should never have been considered for release. He then made it on bad information. I think the information that was communicated to the rest of us, and especially those of us in America, about this guy was that, you know, he was near death. He was on his deathbed. From all indications, he's still alive and maybe doing pretty well in Libya. The information was bad. So you got a bad decision based on bad information, and all of a sudden you get these conspiracy theories out there that maybe there was an ulterior motive as to why this guy was released. I don't know whether we'll ever get to the bottom of exactly whether there was a BP connection or not, But when government acts irresponsibly and makes decisions that the citizens can't relate to and they can't understand, that's when you start getting these suspicions around.
Here's the problem, though, is that apparently the United States, we responded after the fact to suggest that we weren't really sort of using our political muscle to prevent from happening. And it really is hard. And I was a criminal defense lawyer for years, and I fought for people, and rather unsavory circumstances. But to a guy, a compassion release, who murdered about 200 people at 35,000 feet, or part of this conspiracy, it's sort of, it really does behoove a further investigation on this, because it's very deeply troubling, Congressman.
I think you're absolutely right. The question is whether we'll ever get all of the information. But this guy should never even have been considered for a compassionate release. The type of activities, the downing of that plane was absolutely a disaster. He should still be in jail.
Indeed. Thank you, Congressman. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.